On a cold, rainy evening, when the world seemed to have turned its back on a small, helpless baby girl, fate brought her to a place she least expected. A lonely, disabled old man's doorstep. The man, who had spent years struggling with his own challenges, had never imagined his life would change in such an unexpected way. Little did he know, this tiny infant would not only change his life, but would eventually repay him in ways he could never have dreamed. The old man, named Mr. Chen, had lived a life marked by hardship. He had spent the best years of his youth working hard, but as time wore on, sickness and old age took a toll on him. He had no family, no wealth, and no one to rely on but himself. His small home was barely enough for one person, let alone a child. But one fateful night, everything changed. There, on his doorstep, wrapped in nothing more than a torn blanket, was the tiny crying baby girl. At first, Mr. Chen thought his eyes were deceiving him. He had been living alone for years, his only company being his memories and the quiet hum of the street outside. He hadn't heard a child's laughter or cry in so long, and the sight of the abandoned baby girl stunned him. His first instinct was to turn away. The thought of taking care of a helpless child at his age, with his disability, seemed impossible. But as he looked into the baby's tear-streaked face, something in his heart shifted. He couldn't leave her there. With great effort, Mr. Chen brought the baby inside, wrapped her in his own warm clothes, and made her a small bed beside him. He didn't know how he would care for her, or even if he could, but in that moment, he made a promise to himself. He would do whatever it took to keep her safe. Years passed, and the girl, whom he named Xiao Mei, grew up under his care. Despite his own struggles, Mr. Chen provided for her as best as he could. He taught her everything he knew, passing on lessons about kindness, strength, and resilience. Xiao Mei grew up not just as a child of the streets, but as someone who understood the value of compassion. She never once questioned why Mr. Chen took her in, or why he worked so hard to give her a better life. In her eyes, he was everything: a protector, a mentor, a father. But as she grew older, Xiao Mei began to see the sacrifices Mr. Chen had made for her. She saw the way he struggled to make ends meet, how his disability prevented him from working in the ways he once could. There were days when he could barely move, but he would still make sure she had food to eat and clothes to wear. She knew that the man who had saved her all those years ago had given up his own comfort and health for her. This realization sparked something in Xiao Mei, a deep, burning desire to repay him for everything he had done. One day, when Xiao Mei was still a teenager, she overheard a conversation that would change everything. Mr. Chen was talking to a friend on the phone, and she could hear the pain in his voice as he mentioned how he was barely getting by. The bills were piling up, and his disability benefits were not enough to cover the cost of even the most basic needs. It was then that Xiao Mei made a vow. She would find a way to help him, no matter what it took. But little did she know that her journey to repay Mr. Chen would take her down a path filled with danger, wealth, and power that she could have never imagined. A series of events set into motion, a chain of opportunities that would change her life. She was given a chance to prove herself, and it didn't take long for her to realize she had a unique gift that could catapult her into the world of business. As Xiao Mei's skills and intellect blossomed, she began to rise in the world, first in small ways, then in ways no one could have anticipated. From working at a small startup to eventually becoming the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company, Xiao Mei's rise was nothing short of meteoric. Yet, through it all, she never lost sight of the man who had raised her. She built her empire with one goal in mind: to repay Mr. Chen. But what she didn't expect was that as she grew more successful, the world would change around her in ways that could threaten everything she held dear. Just when things seemed to be falling into place, a powerful business rival, a man with ties to her past, emerged, threatening to ruin everything she had worked for. He wanted to take it all from her: her company, her fortune, and most importantly, the life she had built for Mr. Chen. It became clear that Xiaomei was not just fighting for her success, but for her family's survival. As tensions rose, she began to uncover secrets that shook her to the core. Secrets about her origins, about Mr. Chen's past, and about the connections between the two of them that she had never imagined. What she would discover next would change the course of her life forever. Was Mr. Chen really just an old man with a good heart, or was there something more to his story? Was her rise to success merely the result of her own hard work, or was it tied to a hidden legacy she had yet to uncover? As the story unfolds, Xiaomei is forced to confront the truth about her past, her future, and her relationship with the man who had saved her life. Will she be able to save Mr. Chen from the dangers that now threaten them both? Or will the shadows of the past prove to be more powerful than anything she could have ever imagined? The road ahead is uncertain, but one thing is clear: Xiaomei's journey is far from over. What will she do next? And how will she navigate the intricate web of lies, betrayal, and ambition that now surrounds her? Stay tuned for the next part of the story, where secrets will be revealed and the ultimate test of loyalty and love will take place. As Xiaomei's empire continued to grow, so did the shadows surrounding her. Every step she took in the world of business brought her closer to the dangerous and powerful men who controlled it. But none of them were as terrifying as the man she had come to know as Wang Jun, a ruthless businessman with a history entwined with hers. His appearance in her life wasn't just coincidental. It was a reminder of the dark forces that had always lurked beneath the surface of her success. Wang Jun was no ordinary rival. His influence stretched far beyond the business world. He was connected to some of the wealthiest families, had ties to politicians, and controlled multiple corporations. But it wasn't his power that scared Xiaomei. It was the secrets he held, secrets that could unravel everything she had worked for and shatter her world. Xiaomei's mind raced as she pieced together the fragments of conversations she had overheard, the half-truths she had been told, and the subtle warnings Mr. Chen had given her over the years. She had always assumed Mr. Chen's past was as humble as his present, but now she was beginning to question everything. Was he really just a disabled old man who had taken her in out of kindness? Or was there something more, something that could explain why Wang Jun seemed so determined to destroy her and her family? The deeper she dug into Wang Jun's background, the more her own past seemed to collide with it. She began to uncover links between him and a long-forgotten figure in her life, a woman who had once been close to her biological mother, someone Xiaomei had always been told had disappeared without a trace. As she followed the breadcrumbs, Xiaomei realized the terrifying truth. Wang Jun had been involved in a plot that had orchestrated her mother's disappearance all those years ago. His motive was clear. Her mother had been a part of a dangerous underworld operation that Wang Jun had taken over, and when her mother had tried to escape that world, she had paid the ultimate price. But what did that have to do with Xiaomei? Why was she being dragged into this web of deceit and betrayal now, so many years later? The answer lay with Mr. Chen. As it turned out, he wasn't just a kind old man who had taken her in as a helpless child. He was the key to everything. Mr. Chen's quiet life of sacrifice had been a cover for something far greater. He was the man who had once stood against Wang Jun's ruthless ambitions and had paid the price for it. The old man had been a guardian, not just of Xiaomei, but of her mother's legacy. He had been protecting her all along, without her ever knowing it. Xiaomei confronted Mr. Chen one night, the weight of the truth bearing down on her shoulders. The room was dimly lit, and she could see the years of hardship etched in his face, the tiredness in his eyes. But now there was something else there, a sadness, a guilt. She had always known him as the father figure who had given her everything, but now she saw him differently. He wasn't just her savior. He was a man haunted by his past, by the choices he had made to keep her safe. "Why didn't you tell me?" she asked, her voice trembling with a mix of anger and disbelief. "Why didn't you tell me who you really are? Why didn't you tell me the truth about my mother?" Mr. Chen looked away, his hands shaking. "I was trying to protect you, Xiaomei. I thought if you knew too much, you'd be caught up in all of this. I thought I could keep you safe, away from the danger that followed me. And your mother. But now it's too late, isn't it?" she said, her voice breaking. "Now I'm in the middle of it all. Wang Jun is coming for me, and I don't know how to fight him. How do I fight someone like him?" Mr. Chen reached out, his old, weathered hand trembling as it touched her shoulder. "You've already been fighting, Xiaomei. All these years you've been fighting to survive, and you're stronger than you think. But you have to understand, you're not just fighting for yourself anymore. You're fighting for the truth, for the legacy your mother left behind." Xiaomei's mind raced. The weight of the past, the knowledge that her mother had once been part of something so dark and dangerous, now rested heavily on her shoulders. She had built her success on hard work, intelligence, and her own abilities. But now she realized it wasn't just about money or power. It was about something deeper, something far more dangerous. Wang Jun wasn't just after her company. He was after her legacy. He wanted to control everything her mother had once built, and he knew that Xiaomei was the only person who could stop him. But stopping him wasn't going to be easy. Wang Jun had every resource at his disposal, and he was willing to go to any lengths to destroy anyone who stood in his way. He had already made his first move by targeting Mr. Chen, and now it was Xiaomei's turn. As the days passed, the tension between Xiaomei and Wang Jun grew. He began to attack her business, spreading rumors, using his connections to undermine her every move. The wall seemed to close in around her. She knew she couldn't keep running from the truth. The fight for her company was only the beginning. This was a battle for survival, and Xiaomei wasn't sure if she was ready for what lay ahead. But just as she was beginning to lose hope, she received a mysterious phone call. The voice on the other end was familiar, but it wasn't Mr. Chen. It was someone from her mother's past, a person who claimed to have information that could turn the tide in her favor. The caller told her there was a hidden piece of evidence, a document that could expose Wang Jun's darkest secrets and destroy everything he had worked for. But getting to it wouldn't be easy. Xiaomei's heart raced. This was her chance. The key to stopping Wang Jun was within reach, but it was hidden in a place that was dangerous and nearly impossible to access. The tension in her chest tightened. As she realized what she had to do, the choice was clear. She could fight, or she could lose everything. Xiaomei's heart raced as she stood at the entrance of the abandoned warehouse, where the mysterious caller had told her the document was hidden. The cold night air seemed to hold its breath, and the silence around her felt suffocating. Every step she took forward seemed to echo in her ears, and with every beat of her heart, the weight of the decision she had made pressed harder on her chest. She knew that by walking into this place, she was not just walking into danger. She was stepping into a fight that would determine everything. her company, her family, and her future, all hung in the balance. The dimly lit warehouse was eerily quiet, the only sound being the soft scuff of her shoes against the concrete floor. She kept her eyes peeled for any signs of danger, but she saw nothing, just shadows and the faint smell of dust in the air. The caller's instructions had been clear. The document she needed was hidden in a small safe behind a false wall, marked with a symbol that she knew from her mother's old letters. She had come this far, and there was no turning back now. As Xiaomei reached the spot, she carefully examined the wall. Her hands shook with anticipation and fear, but she forced herself to stay calm. She ran her fingers over the cold metal, searching for the hidden mechanism. There it was, a small indentation that, when pressed, caused the wall to slide open with a soft click. Her breath caught in her throat as she peered inside the safe. It wasn't just a piece of paper waiting for her. Inside the safe were stacks of documents, each one marked with red seals and names she recognized. Names of powerful men from the business world, politicians who had long been part of the shadows. But there was one name that stood out above the rest, Wang Jun's. Her heart skipped a beat. This was the evidence she needed to destroy him. This was the key to finally ending his reign of terror. But as she reached for the documents, a loud crash sounded from the other side of the warehouse. Xiaomei spun around, her body tensing. She wasn't alone. In the darkness, two figures emerged, their faces obscured by the dim light. One of them was tall and imposing, Wang Jun. The other, to Xiaomei's shock, was none other than Mr. Chen. Mr. Chen, Xiaomei's voice trembled with disbelief. What are you doing here? I thought you were on my side. Wang Jun's laughter echoed in the cold, empty space. You really didn't see it coming, did you, Xiaomei? Did you really think that old man, your so-called father, was here to protect you? He stepped forward, his voice cold and mocking. He's been playing you from the very beginning. Xiaomei's world shattered in that instant. All the years of trust, of believing in the man who had cared for her, now seemed like a lie. Mr. Chen's face was pale, his expression unreadable as he stepped closer to Wang Jun. It's true, Xiaomei. Mr. Chen's voice was heavy with regret. I had to make a choice all those years ago, and I chose to protect you. But I also had to protect the truth. Wang Jun, he has always been a part of this world, your mother's world. I was trying to shield you from all of it, from the danger, from the darkness. But in doing so, I kept you away from the truth that could have set you free. Xiaomei's heart pounded in her chest. You worked with him all along. You were protecting him. Why? After everything, why? Mr. Chen's eyes softened. I had to make a deal with him to keep you safe, Xiaomei. I thought if I kept you out of this, you would have a chance at a normal life. But I was wrong. I see that now. I see the truth in your eyes. And I can't protect you anymore. Wang Jun stepped forward, a sinister smile on his face. Your little game is over, Xiaomei. You've come this far, but there's nothing you can do now. This is my world, and you're nothing but a pawn. But Xiaomei wasn't the same girl who had been abandoned in the street all those years ago. She had grown, learned, and fought to become who she was. Her mother's legacy, her own determination, and the fight for her family and business had forged her into something stronger than she had ever realized. With a steady breath, Xiaomei picked up the documents from the safe and turned to face Wang Jun. You're wrong, she said, her voice firm. This isn't your world anymore. You've underestimated me, and you've underestimated my family. You might have thought you could control everything, but I'm not a pawn, and I'm not afraid of you. In a swift motion, she turned the documents over, revealing the damning evidence that would expose Wang Jun's darkest crimes. Her mother's name was all over them. It was the final piece of the puzzle. The one thing Wang Jun had feared would come to light. He had underestimated how much Xiao Mei had learned, how much she had come to understand. With the documents in her hands, Xiao Mei walked toward Mr. Chen. The old man stood in silence, his face filled with sorrow, but his eyes held a flicker of pride. She didn't have time for explanations, not anymore. The truth was here, and she was ready to fight for it. "I'm sorry," Mr. Chen whispered. "I failed you. You didn't fail me," Xiao Mei replied, her voice steady. "You gave me the strength to fight, and now I'll finish what we started." The final confrontation between Xiao Mei and Wang Jun was fierce, but with the power of truth on her side, she emerged victorious. The evidence was enough to bring him down, to expose his corruption and lies. His empire crumbled, his reputation destroyed, and he was arrested, facing the consequences of his actions. In the end, Xiao Mei took her rightful place, not just as a businesswoman, but as a woman who had fought for her family and her legacy. With Mr. Chen by her side, the family that had once been torn apart by secrets and lies was whole again. The woman who had been abandoned as a baby had grown up to become a force of change, a symbol of resilience, and a reminder that even the most shattered past could be rebuilt with the right kind of love, strength, and truth. As Xiao Mei stood tall, she knew one thing for certain. The fight wasn't just for wealth or power. It was for the truth, for family, and for the future. And, in the end, that was the greatest victory of all.